And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And folks, we got a great show today. We're going to have a great conversation regarding the Supreme Court decisions on birthrights, women, men and women's sports, and the TPS. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And first, let me give all praises to Yahuwah and Yahusha. That's God and Christ in Hebrew. To the American people and patriots across this country, we got what we wanted to hear. Now, the Supreme Court have been making decisions on different executive orders that President Trump put forth, and they've started to answer them. Regarding birthright citizenship, for me, I think birthright citizenship was not written for anybody who could come over here and have a baby. It has been used as a tool to get into our country and to legalize people who are here illegally. So what the 14th Amendment says has nothing to do with someone who creates an anchor baby in our country. And I have to agree with the president that it was never about someone having a birth and having a baby here. It was for the slaves who was here, which are black people, to get their citizenship. And in saying that, I'm going to get my team in and we're going to start to discuss this situation. What's up, Doc?
Hey.
What's up, Randy? What's up, Mr. Binky?
Hi, everybody.
Hey. Now, listen, guys. So first of all, we know that the Supreme Court is only an opinion. It's not a decision by law. and it's something, you're right, Randy, it's an opinion, not a law. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to birthright citizenship, it has been used in so many ways badly. Doc, tell me a little bit of your thoughts on that ruling regarding birthright.
Well, unfortunately, because illegal births have been incentivized in this country because of all of the, housing, clothing, monies, they've incentivized it, right? The 14th Amendment is only there because of the Dred Scott decision, where it said, we can't, as the court, give you citizenship. You're going to have to go to the legislatures to get citizenship. So this is where we get those amendments from. So without emancipated slaves, we don't even have the 14th Amendment. So how are you talking about just soil, which is common law, English language, and we're here in the United States, being applied to us, and it's nowhere in our Constitution. So I'm just saying, if you eliminate the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, just for argument's sake, and you say, okay, all men are created equal. So that means everybody that touches the soil is automatically a U.S. citizen based on what? And everybody is quiet and leaves the room because they know it's a lie on its face. And it's a lie now. And it's still harmful to the Black community. Because if you look at any communities where these individuals have come into, it dilutes the whole black community. Like where the black people go? They were here. They were at least 60% of this
Hmm.
demographic here in the city, and now the demographic is completely changed. Why? What happened? That's what
Randy?
happened.
There's a whole lot I could say about this decision yesterday, but I would try to keep it short. The 14th Amendment. If we was to propose a constitutional amendment to modify, even repeal the 14th Amendment, and follow it up with subsequent acts to
Hmm.
support that, it would be a detriment to the current population of the United States because the illegals that are here currently and everything else, it would be a retroactive thing if they
Yes,
did that because
Hmm.
going forward, you can't just say, okay, from here on out, these people. No, it's going to be a
because that's just
retroactive thing.
amnesty.
Exactly. And so I would solicit to Congress to do that and proposing a constitutional amendment. It requires 34 states to be on board
Hmm.
with it and ratified by 38 states. I think with this conversation, it's an easy ask and an easy win in my opinion because you got those blue states. There's not that many
Hmm.
of them that will
Hmm.
say, you know what, yeah, this is a good idea. Let's do this because we will fundamentally, and as Justice Clarence Thomas put it yesterday, this decision is going to fundamentally change the course of history
Yes.
if we don't do
Hmm.
something about it. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with that. And once again, I would say opinions are not the law. So
Andre, your thoughts on the birthright citizenship decision?
Well, a little bit disappointed, but not surprised. I am in agreement with what was said yesterday that this will not stand 100 years. I um
Hmm.
I do think that there are things that we can still do. I'm just not sure exactly what that process is going to be at this time because we're kind of in uncharted territory here, and some of the bills that were already in Congress that were dealing with that, we have to see if these bills will even stand because of the ruling that we had the previous day. So we're all kind of scrambling around to figure out what all this means. But what I think now we have to do is now really pressure Congress.
Hmm.
I like the idea with the states. I just don't have like an answer right now because this is all so new. But just really disappointed. But we're gonna keep up the fight. We're gonna look at what avenues we have. I was listening to a forum last night. Now, pregnant women from outside the country are going to be under scrutiny,
Yes.
and
Banned. They need to
it's
be
going to be,
banned.
yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying. So,
Yeah.
for these people on tourist visas, for
Hmm.
these people that are students, it's going to be a lot more strict. And,
Yep.
does that lend itself to that if you're a student and you're studying in the United States, does that lend that you have to be on birth control? Like, do you sign like an NDA saying that if you get pregnant in the United States, that baby that you
That
have is not
automatically terminates your visa and you are gone.
right?
Period.
So
You
like
need
this is this
tests
this is gonna
every
have
month.
yeah, this is gonna have all kinds of
Oh
implications.
yeah.
So we have to see what comes out of it.
Mr. Binky, I know you set to go. Let's hear what you got. What the 14th Amendment says.
Well, first off, the Supreme Court opinion means diddly squat.
Dun dun dun.
First and foremost, it means nothing. It does open the door now because the
Hmm.
Supreme Court stuck their foot in their mouth to make define birthright citizenship.
Yes. Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
what they need to do. They need to step up and get the cojones and start
Hmm.
doing their job. That's the problem with our Congress is they don't do their job.
That's right.
Second of all, these opinions that Amy Comey, Barnett, and uh, Roberts and Sotomayor and all them,
Yeah.
obviously they can't read because the only way you can interpret anything in the Constitution is do it originally and there's
Hmm.
true intent. And its true intent right there tells you, and it
Hmm.
says that This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States. So this idea,
There were commas, right?
what's that?
I said there were commas, right? It
Right.
didn't just skip just to the ambassadors, right? There were some commas before that, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
That statement right there that was by Miss Senator Howard, who was one of many who created the 14th Amendment, already knew what
Mhm.
our justices were going to do today. And that was
Right.
interpreted wrong. So he clarified
Mhm.
in
Absolutely.
that statement while they created this the true
Mhm.
intent of the 14th Amendment.
Correct.
We didn't even need the 14th Amendment to tell you the truth.
Mhm.
Once the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, all they had to add to it is, and those affected are now U.S. citizens.
Citizens, period.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Banky.
And Binky,
Winning.
and Bink, to your point on that, not to cut you off, but that's why I say it would be okay to abolish the 14th Amendment and just or have subsequent acts, laws
But
that would
amend,
support that.
but
Mhm.
amend the 13th Amendment too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
By
yeah.
putting
That's
in there
absolutely.
those
Yep.
affected by slavery were now considered U.S. citizens.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
that way, the 14th Amendment and the 13th abolished involuntary servitude. Am I correct?
That's
Mhm.
right.
The 14th Amendment created voluntary servitude because now what is jurisdiction?
Mm. Come
Jurisdiction
on.
means somebody is over
Over
somebody.
you.
Yep.
Mhm.
So what the Supreme Court said was these people coming here from other countries have no control over their child now.
Right.
The United States
States
does.
does. Yes.
Now that child is under the United
The
States
state's
jurisdiction.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
basically are taking your child and your decisions away
Mhm.
from
So we're kidnapping people
So-
now? What are
Well,
doing?
you know,
So
you know-
so no so no no no
Just
no no.
saying.
So I would say
Mhm.
I would say that would be a mechanism to discourage people from coming over here to have a baby that's not a U.S. citizen. If you have a child here, you cannot leave with that child.
right.
That child now has to stay, but you got to go because you're not a legal citizen. You
That
have to
child,
go. The child has to stay here because now this
Mm.
child is a U.S. citizen based on our laws. You are not. You got to go.
that child,
Yep.
child belongs to the parents, no matter where they're from.
yes.
Whether they're from the United States or from Honduras
Mhm.
or Brazil or Russia, that child
Mhm.
belongs to the parents. So now what the Supreme Court is saying is because that child was born here, they're under our jurisdiction. No. Those parents are under the jurisdiction of the country they are from.
Come on.
Therefore, that child belongs to the parents and their jurisdiction.
It's real easy.
Ain't
you
it?
know-
I would go with that too. I would go with that
Yep.
too. But just to play devil's advocate there, I would say, okay, you want to come here and have a child thinking that you're going to have some kind of pathway or utilize our
Mhm.
benefits. You go home, the child stays. I bet people then would say, you know what, I'm not for that. let me
But-
let
Or
me
you
just take my child. Let me
de-incentivize
take my
it and you
child
don't
and
give them
go
any
go
gimmies.
home. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
don't
you
give
know,
them any
guys-
money, food, clothing, shelter. You
Yes.
wipe all that stuff away, and it'd be like,
Mhm.
well, why would I want to come to America and have a kid and be destitute? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, my thing of it is that how do you get to an anchor baby from a law that said that black people are citizens? How did having come to America using the 14th Amendment to have a child, how does that tie into actually what the Constitution says about this is for the slaves? That's my thing. I want to play a
Because they
clip,
use the
guys.
Kim Wong
Dave,
arc.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr.
Go ahead.
Nichols.
Go ahead, Steve.
Ladies first.
Okay, so that Kim Wong arc case is their cornerstone to birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship is not a law. It was common. It became a common law term. It is nowhere in our Constitution. It is nowhere in the legislature. It's nowhere. It came from a case where two people that were here illegally, Chinese, They had a child here on the soil, and then that person was granted citizenship. And even though he still tried to fight for his citizenship, he died in China because they wouldn't grant him the citizenship even after the case, because they couldn't, because his parents were never naturalized.
So then there has to be some type of a clause or something added to the 14th Amendment in order for them to be able to justify that if I have a baby on this soil, because it doesn't say that in the Constitution anywhere.
How
If
do
I
you
have a
change the
baby on
14th
this soil.
Amendment without ratifying it?
You have
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes, exactly.
And he
And so
did
how
that.
were you able to do that? And then when it doesn't say that, because if you stick right to the script of what the 14th Amendment says, conversation is over with. Birthright citizenship does not apply to those who are not already citizens or in this country. It applied to the Black community, and that's what it should have been, and that's what it stands on, and that's what the Constitution say. So we should not be allowing people to come over here and do this. Go ahead, Binky, while I cue this up.
Well, to answer your question is how are they getting by with it? We're believing that the Supreme Court's got the final say over what the Constitution says. That's the problem. You know, they're saying those justices that concurred together stating that birthright citizenship is coming from you being born here. That's where it came from. They said because the 14th Amendment says those naturalized or born. They didn't take the whole context of what the 14th. They took a part of it, and that's the dangerous part of listening to a Supreme Court. And our founders in Federalist Paper 78 told us that the weakest branch is the judicial system for a reason, because they hold no power to the purse nor to the court.
But you know, guys, this whole birthright thing has been going on for ages. I got this clip I want to play back from '93 on what this same situation that we're still haggling about right now.
If making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough, how about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant? No sane country would do that, right? Guess again. If you break our laws by entering this country without permission and give birth to a child, we reward that child with U.S. citizenship and guarantee of full access to all public and social services this society provides. And that's a lot of services. Is it any wonder that 2/3 of the babies born at taxpayer expense at county-run hospitals in Los Angeles are born to illegal alien mothers?
Okay, guys, your thoughts on that, Doc?
Yeah. It needs to be de-incentivized. But again, how do you take a court case and use that court case to literally ratify the Constitution when it takes 2/3? Because everybody just accepted it and went along with it, and nobody challenged it. Nobody. And now we're here, and now people feel entitled. Like, how dare you tell me I'm pregnant? I want to have my baby here in the United States because I'm going to have a United States citizen and I'm going to get all this free stuff. What are we doing?
Andre?
Dr. Nichols is exactly right. What we're seeing here is incentivizing people to make that journey from countries that they say that they are just trying to improve their lives from. They're going to take those trips through the jungle. They're going to take illegal flights into the United States. They're going to try all different things to get here because they know that if they have a child in the United States, that child is a citizen, and in 18 years, that child can sponsor them, and they can become a citizen. There's your anchor. And until the United States, here you go. And until the United States deals with that situation, we're going to have the same problem. So we are going to have to create laws to de-incentivize it. And I think those laws are on the horizon. They're already being talked about. But here's another thing that we need to look out for. Now that we have this Supreme Court ruling, there are going to be people that say, hey, now we need to change it so that if we have a baby here, you can't send the parent out. That's going to be the next thing that these crazies go after for. So we have to be on our guard. There's still things that we have to work towards. This ruling is not the end.
Randy?
Yep, I agree there. And, to that point, to Andre's point, ending chain migration is very simple. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
if you had a child in this country illegally, well, you was illegal and you had a child here, and now when this child is of age, you are automatically barred from sponsorship. Just make that a law that
Hmm.
you cannot become you cannot be a legal resident of the United States if you had a child here illegally and they became a
Hmm.
U.S.
Right.
citizen.
Yeah.
Bar that, and that would
De-incentivize.
Yep.
de-incentivize it. Yep,
Yep.
exactly. And that would shut down that conversation. And to the other point, you're right. The next I guess you say apparatus for the Democrats is going to be, hey, let's
Hmm.
let these illegals that's parents to these kids become citizens. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. So the
Hmm.
Congress needs to step up and take care of business on that.
Mr. Binky?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm going to go back here, say the same stuff over and over, I guess. But, the fact is that people, if our Congress, if our Supreme Court's adjusters actually went back to the true intent from our founding fathers, Madison and Hamilton spoke about incentivizing people to come here. They didn't want to throw out candy and give stuff to people to come here.
Right.
They
Hmm.
wanted, they
That's right.
actually wanted people to come here that supported themselves, that
Yes.
wanted to be an asset, that wanted to
Yes.
actually be here on their own,
Hmm.
not to be coerced or coaxed into coming in because we got a gas station for you, we got a 7-Eleven for you,
Yeah.
we've got public aid for you, we've got food stamps for you. That's what government's doing today because it's
Yeah.
global humanity rights, human rights from the United Nations, and all. Yeah, you can't have people come over here that are escaping their country from political retribution against them. Well, ain't nobody. That's
Well,
not really happening.
you know what bothers me about this whole birthright thing is the fact that you're welcoming people here, you're enticing people to come, but yet
That's
and
right.
still the Black Americans who are already here, you don't give a shit about. You make it difficult to get loans. You make it difficult
Hmm.
to get housing. You've discriminated against blacks ever since we've been over here. You've split our families up. You decimated our black communities. And yet, 250 years of America fought for their freedoms from England, right? Because they felt they didn't
Hmm.
want to be slaves to the England country, right? Okay, so how do you say that you were fighting for your freedoms when you enslaved black people to build the country that you just, does that make any sense?
It
No, if you
really
want to
doesn't.
destroy it, if you want to
Okay, so
destroy,
but
if you want to destroy a country that had one's principles and values and really desired freedom, this is what you get today. You get a court system, you get communists and socialists elected to mayors and governors, and now it's just going nuts. Now every Colorado just, I mean, come on,
but the point that I'm making is that how do you keep on putting American citizens behind other people, especially black Americans?
Well, we
Well,
That's
had
We
a
allow
short
it.
time in the country
We
during
allow it.
Reconstruction where we actually had peace in this country. People don't talk about that. There was 12 years where there was actual peace in this country and respect. Then once the Confederate Army was released, then you had Jim Crow, then you had redlining. So it's not to say that we cannot have actual livable peace. People are always going to hate each other and be prejudiced. Sorry, it is what it is. But we were actually able to walk shoulder to shoulder to make sure we had a better country.
Hmm.
Right
Randy?
now, we have
right.
people that want to abolish the federal government and replace it with communism. Like right now, to me, those individuals that are speaking against the country that way, they need to be deported immediately and stripped of their citizenship immediately. Everybody keeps talking about you can't deport a US citizen. Yes, you can. Yes, you can if they go up against our federal government. Now that's in our constitution. I don't want to hear it.
Hmm.
Randy?
I have been saying, I've been talking about this for a few years now, that we have territories, right?
Mhm.
And these territories are technically do not have the, I guess you say, the rights and the privileges of being in the United States, but with their
Hmm.
laws and everything else, right? If we put prisons in these territories and we put these people that want to be communists, they want to be illegal
Hmm.
immigrants and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
if we put them in those prisons and they meet parole and they get out, guess what? They're in a territory. They're not in the United States per se,
Right. Hmm.
and they have to figure it out from there. And so
Yeah.
I am of the ilk to say that we need to really look at how to uh, make it a harsh reality for
Yeah.
people that are against America. Make it a really like, oh shit, if this happens to me,
Hmm.
if this happens to me, this is gonna be a bad day, and I won't be able to recover from this. That's how we have to treat people. And
Hmm.
this was going back to the revolutionary days. George Washington gave zero, you know what I'm about to say next, about
Hmm.
anybody who was against the cause.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
He was like, put him on that tree. And they were like,
Yep.
sir. But sir, he's like,
Not playing.
I ain't trying to hear it. Put him on that tree.
So, Dre, go ahead. You want to respond to that?
Y'all need to see how this is
Yeah.
gonna work.
So, what Dr. Nichols was saying about the Reconstruction, part of the reason that the Union Army pulled out is that they lost 8 or 9 states that they won in the previous election. Why did they started losing states? Well, the if you read the Emancipation Reclamation, you'll know that the immigrant population grew very large, and they were in support of the Democrats because they heard the proclamation, the Emancipation Proclamation from Lincoln himself, and they did not want to compete with newly freed Black Americans for jobs. So what did they do? They supported the Democrats. They supported the rebels. They did
Hmm.
everything they could to keep the slavery intact. And once they started organizing so that the Union would lose states, then the Union was like, well, we cannot survive politically if we don't pull out of the South. So that is the part of the reason why immigration is a big part of the Democrat ticket. It's been since the
Mm-hmm.
Reconstruction.
Well,
Wow.
my thing is, and two Black Americans
You got one.
watch,
That's awesome.
watching this show is like, how is it that we still in the same place or worse than it was before Dr. King and Malcolm? How is that? Because we have not progressed. Our communities are in worse condition than it was 40 years ago. And with this whole immigration problem, because back in 1993, they were still fighting over the same stuff. America had started enticing immigrants to come over here, have your baby. I mean, that's what led to our country, people creating a nation within a nation. Because instead of becoming American citizens, you say, well, I'm going to create Haiti in the United States. I'm going to
Hmm.
create Somalia in the United States. And I'm going to live over here in this country, pay no taxes, use all their amenities and run them to hell. And then if something happened, I'm going to be and it can go back home. Your thoughts on that, Dre?
Well, America has been designated as a country of immigrants. And if you look at all the TPS recipients of deportation, all of their leaders are getting up saying that immigrants built this country. We built this country. And it's not true. They may have contributed to the country,
Hmm.
but they were not here for a long time. And Black Americans have been in every war. We have been in every build of this country. So, with that in mind, what has happened, to answer your question, Pastor, is that they have given up on Americans in general, especially Black Americans, for a globalist policy that puts
Hmm.
immigrants first and puts Americans to the back burner, allowing them to create their new slave labor, which is this immigrant population. They work so hard. They built this country, and everyone's propping them up so that things that that our country doesn't want to pay Americans to do, they'll pay immigrants to do for less.
Your thoughts, Doc?
Well, people get addicted to cheap labor.
That's
They
right.
do.
Yep.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like, there are raids going on in Georgia and in Florida right now in construction. And, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they're like, yeah, this person's been here for 25 years. I was like, they've been here for 25 years? And not what? Huh? How were you here 25 years? And you haven't
Yes.
applied for citizenship? That's what's broken, because everybody keeps saying the system is broken. It is, especially if you've been here for 25 years and you're not a contributing member of the country.
That's
You
right.
have an allegiance to another country. It is complete ideology. It's a mindset, just what Dre was saying, but it's got to change in order for us to be around for another 250 years.
Mr. Binky?
Well, the idea of immigrants built this country is just a divisional talk point. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Our founding fathers, our first presidents and stuff, weren't even citizens. They weren't born here. Okay. And after that first generation, that's why you got to be natural born to be a president. Okay. So after we became the United States, the people in this country at that time were Americans. They were no longer immigrants. And when you're born here, how are you considered an immigrant? So it's just like they took the poem off of the Statue
of Liberty,
and they say this is a melting pot. We're not a melting pot. We're a United States. We're Americans.
That's right.
We're born here. And so by saying this country was built on immigrants, now it's a division. It's saying, oh, well, the immigrants did everything for us. No, we did it.
Yes, we did.
You and I, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, everybody. And sadly, slaves.
Yep.
Okay.
Randy?
To Steve's point, America, we shot ourselves in the foot with the ideas that we espouse. It's true. We became so benevolent to the world that the world now sees us as this, weak entity that they can take advantage of. This is no different than how we take advantage of other people in our own society here. But they look at it like, oh, they made this law, we can take advantage of it. Just like with the the freedom of religion talk. And then the whole fight about Muslims trying to Sharia the United States, Sharia Texas. We shoot ourselves in the foot with our own benevolence, and then we sit back and we cry about it after the fact. And it's instead of addressing it right up front and saying, you know what, hey, if we do this, here are the second and third order effects of that. And now we're at the third order effects because we already dealt with the second order. Now we're at the third order of like, oh, it's too late now. And so we now have to just embrace it and continue on with the BS. So it is what it is. For me, I look at it like we have to now re-strategize and relook at how we deal with immigrants in this country that are here illegally and those who are overstaying their visas and all that. That needs to be the new focus group.
Yes.
For the Congress is saying, hey, okay, like you just said, Dr. Shack, 25 years, you've been here 25 years and you didn't apply.
Guys, I want to play a video and then we're going to respond to it. But I definitely, going back on the second half of the show, we're going to talk about TPS.
This morning, the Trump administration searching for a path forward after a blistering defeat at the U.S. Supreme Court. Vice President J.D. Vance responding to the court's historic 6-3 ruling, rejecting President Trump's effort to limit birthright citizenship, guaranteed under the 14th Amendment to nearly everyone born on U.S. soil.
We have to be even more aware of who's coming into our country to make sure that they're not benefiting from this atrocious Supreme Court ruling.
Mr. Trump campaigned on ending birthright citizenship and sought to ban it on day one of his second term.
This was not meant for Chinese billionaires to have their children become citizens of our country. This was meant for the babies of slaves.
But Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, that the framers of the Constitution extended the promise of the 14th Amendment to every freeborn person in this land, adding, we keep that promise. Still, the president now calling on Congress to act.
If there is a role for Congress to play to resolve it, we're interested in doing that.
But any meaningful change would require a constitutional amendment, which is virtually impossible in the face of razor-thin GOP majorities in the House.
This is a pillar of who we are as a nation. So if they want to try and overturn it by constitutional amendment, good luck to them.
But the High Court handed conservatives a win.
Your thoughts, Doc, on that?
Well, I find it hilarious because, first of all, a court case overturned constitutional doctrine, which should have taken a ratification, right?
Mm-hmm.
The court case did it. And it was the way you interpreted the law. The law says free-born persons. Those free-born persons were emancipated slaves. That's what the law was referring to.
Yes.
And that's what it's always referred to. But you want to open it up because it's just soil, right? And so, like I said, I find it hilarious that they try to bring in the ratification of the Constitution in when it was justifiable with a court case.
Mr. Binky?
I find it disingenuous.
Justice Roberts.
Read the whole thing in context.
Read this. It's simple. That's
Amen.
Justice Roberts is also accredited to taking Obamacare from a mandate to a tax.
Come on.
If you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So Justice Roberts is not sitting in good behavior because he's okay.
You digress.
This is why we don't listen to what the Supreme Court says as law, because they have no power of law. They give opinions, and in this case, they gave some really stupid opinions.
On that real quick, with these opinions that come down from the Supreme Court, it opens up and for the audience here to understand the apparatus here of the relationship rather between the Supreme Court, Congress, and the presidency. When Congress writes a law, the Supreme Court says, no, you can't do that. You know, nice try. And then the executive says, yeah, screw you. We're going to do it anyway. It opens up the door for Congress to say, okay, the Supreme Court says we can't do this. So anything that's brought before the Supreme Court will be ruled against us. So let us readjust course and fix the law, change the law, add laws to make it be more compliant to where the Supreme Court will agree with us. Because once again, we've seen some opinions that we did agree with that came out of the Supreme Court. We say, yes, see, told you, and so we put ourselves in this dichotomy of we hate the Supreme Court and we love the Supreme Court when we agree with them. And it's just, we just need to understand that we have to go back to the drawing board when the Supreme Court actually disagrees when something is we're not agreeable with. So I call on Congress to adjust that, address it and adjust it. Speaker Johnson said they're open to it, but yes. I don't need you to be open to it. I need you to do it. So
come on.
Now, guys, check this out. Okay, so I look at it in a different way. Some of the decisions, I knew that they were going to try to smooth the birthright over, because if they had moved it, then think about all these people that are here with the anchor babies. I mean, because it's gonna go back to where you've been here. But there was one ruling that I was pleased with as well, and it affects people who've been here on a temporary status. Those people who have been here on TPS 10, 15 years, and temporary status is only for like 18 months. But you've been here 15 or 20 years, but you still have not become a citizen. Your thoughts on that, Mr. Binky?
Well, there again, government's failing its own system. If they're still here for 20 years, why are they still here for 20 years? Right. You know, the 14th Amendment says those born or naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction. Okay. If you're not here legally, you're not subject to the jurisdiction. You're here illegally. Yeah. If you've been here for 20 years illegally,
Well, I'm gonna play this clip, guys, and we're gonna discuss it right quick.
Hold on, Pastor before
go
you
ahead.
play that clip, if you don't mind, I want to refer to the last clip that you showed, because if I had like pausing ability, I would have stopped it, because ABC and all these liberal media companies have been successful at one thing. They've been painting the narrative that President Trump wanted to get rid of birthright citizenship completely. This is how it's sold in the media, and I'm not someone that's like naive to think that the Supreme Court justices wouldn't get that in the back of their mind as well. We have to do a better job moving forward winning these media arguments, because he wasn't trying to get rid of it. He was trying to amend it so that people that were coming here illegally couldn't have babies on the soil and anchor themselves to this country. But the media did such a good job of selling it that evil President Trump wanted to get rid of birthright citizenship, and everyone should be alarmed. This is why we have this 6-3 verdict, partially because of the media.
Yes. Well, you know, the media, especially the CNN and all
ABC,
NBC, all the ABCs, all of those media outlets are ran by Democrat entities. I can tell you that for sure. And that's why they're going to slant the news to the American people and patriots across this country. Everything the president has done has been for the benefit of the American citizens. And it's the Democratic ran media who going to paint him as a person that hate other people, but he trying to fix what they screwed up. It should have never been any DACA babies clauses. It should never been any anchor baby clauses. But the Democrats have used different legislation that was created for black people. Everybody taking stuff that was created for us and using it for other people's advantages to come to this country and then put black people down to the bottom. And black Americans need to see that. We need to wake up and understand that. How is it that here it is, 250 years later, we at the worst condition of our communities and our lives. Our educational system is torn. We still don't have economics. We still don't have proper housing. And yet you're bringing people over here off laws that was created for black people, black babies, generations born on this soil to become citizens. And you know, I just think that that's what black people, we need to wake up and we need to start dealing with our own issues, our own selves. That way we can be just like everybody else. So I want to play this clip about TPS, guys.
Which gives the Trump administration the authority to end TPS, or temporary protected status, for immigrants living here who fled armed conflict in their home countries and are here legally, or at least they were. The ruling has sent more than 350,000 immigrants from Haiti and Syria into something of a state of panic as they prepare for possible deportations back to Haiti and Syria, amid questions about how and when the Department of Homeland Security will act. Joining us now is the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Markwayne Mullin, who joins us from his home in Oklahoma. Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Secretary. So more than 350,000 people from Haiti and Syria who have lived and worked legally in this country under TPS. Will you be deporting all of them? Will they be all deported back to their home countries, Haiti and Syria? And when will these deportations start? Will it be immediately?
Well, Jake, first of all, temporary protective status was never intended to be permanent. And there's a lot of people that came over here 15, 20 years ago underneath TPS that's already changed their status. The whole time these individuals have been here underneath the temporary protective status, they could have applied for a visa. They could have applied for a LPR. They could have applied for different directions, but the status itself can be ended in its name itself by saying temporary. So these individuals have a couple of choices. They can try to apply for a permanent residence here. They can apply for a temporary visa if they choose to, or they can choose to go back. And if they want to go back, we'll help them with that. If I'm talking directly to the individuals with the temporary protected status, either try to fill out the paperwork and be here underneath a permanent status, or we'll help you get back to your country. We'll actually give you a plane ticket plus roughly $2,100 to help you reestablish when you get there. But temporary protected status, according to the courts and in its name itself, is not permanent status.
So if the 350,000 temporary protective status holders right now start applying for permanent status, start applying for visas, will they not be deported? Is that a way for them to stay in the U.S. legally?
Well, it depends on if they qualify or not.
Exactly.
Underneath some visas, when you overstay your visa, when you have to go back to the country you came from. Underneath TPS, while it is still in order, you're able to apply for different status. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be accepted. There's a lot of things that take into consideration. First of all, have you been here and been charged with a felony, or do you have a criminal background? Do you have pending charges against you? Those won't be accepted. If you've been here and you've been living off the taxpayer dollars, meaning that you're part of social programs, those won't be accepted either. If you've been here and you've had a full-time paying job, underneath some circumstances, those would apply, but you have to go through the regular steps that every other immigrant that wants to come to the country legally has to go through. So I can't say that everybody's going to be accepted, but you are eligible to apply. Nothing prevents you from applying, filling out the application, but nothing's prevented them since they've been here underneath TPS either.
So obviously you're correct.
Okay, guys.
He knows he's correct. He's like, obviously you're correct. Yeah, well, he knows he's correct because you're trying to trap him into a box of saying
yes,
the signal out there, part of his messaging, to put the signal out there saying, oh yeah, if you apply, we're not going to deport you. Yeah, no, you might be subjected to the deportation guy. So don't even Jake Tapper, nice try on that. But I want to say real quick.
Go ahead, man.
I want to say real quick though on that. The thing that they got to remember is if you are on temporary status, it does not necessarily mean that you get to stay in the United States on that status.
Right.
We have the authority to move you wherever we deem is safe for you to go. And so once again, we have territories around the world. I will be putting them jokers in those territories. Hey, populate this. There you go. Have a nice life. And boom, there problem solved. We got to think better than what we're thinking, ladies and gentlemen.
Doc?
Yeah, and to Randy's point, it's temporary protected status. There's all different types of statuses. We have to remember DACA was deemed illegal by the Supreme Court. People forget about that. People forget that Donald Trump sat down with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and tried to get them to pass it and make it legal for those DACA recipients to be here. And they shot him down. So they're here illegally. TPS is illegal because it only lasts for 18 months. How are you here for 10 years on something that lasts 18 months? Help me. Okay. And yes, you can apply for whatever you want to, but in order to actually come back here to be a naturalized citizen, you have to go back to your home country. You can't stay here and apply for that and just jump the shark.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
Mr. Binky?
Well, Mullins is sitting there talking out both sides of his mouth at the same time. Well, if they were here for 20 years, they could have signed up for this and done that. Well, now they can do this, sign up for that. But they're here for temporary.
No,
they're been here for 20 years, and this is a temporary program. Well, what's temporary? Why don't we define what temporary is?
It's 18 months.
18 months.
It's already been defined.
Okay, well, how come they're still here after 20 years?
Because they kept reapplying, and they had all of these social justice warriors fighting to keep them here. They had judges in courts fighting to keep them here every single time they were supposed to be deported. That's what happened.
Failure of the very government that created the mess is keeping the mess going and making it worse. That's where it's our problems for letting them do this. And we need to fix what our problem is remaining silent and uneducated on their job.
Trey?
It's time for them to go home.
Yeah.
Come on. All the
It was a
statuses
nice run.
eliminated.
It was a nice run, but if I trespassed on somebody's property, they're not going to send me off that property with $2,100 on a plane ticket
No.
to where I want to go. Like, it's
Come on.
not, we're doing them a service. So a lot of times what you're hearing, oh, all these Haitian people are not really sleeping well at night because they know that they're going to be deported soon. And I'm like, you don't have to be deported. You can get a plane ticket. You can get $2,100. You can start over in your country of origin. And guess what? You're not disqualified. You can reapply. So all this
Yes.
fear crap that the media is putting out there, it is fear that they're trying to get sympathy from other people. I'm telling you right now on this show, they're not getting sympathy from me. They've gotten chance after chance after chance.
Yes.
And he said it perfectly on there. They had chances to apply for permanent or legal or LPR, which is legal permanent
Residency.
residency.
Mhm.
And they didn't do it for whatever
Nope.
reason.
Exactly.
And there might be laws within the United States that prevent them from doing that easily. That
Yes.
is by design.
Yeah.
So people need to stop overstaying and expecting that they're going to be able to stay forever because we're under new leadership now. And he said no.
Yeah. But
Yes.
it was
And the
always
American people
instituted
said no.
that way. Like
Yeah.
TPS
Yes.
was always instituted that way. You could not apply for naturalization if you were under TPS. Refugees, asylum seekers, like a lot of these different statuses cannot apply for naturalization. You can only apply for naturalization if you come through the proper port of entry. That's it. There's
But
one
you-
way here.
But you
That's
know
it.
what I like about what he said was, he said, if you're here and you on felonies, you committed a crime, or the key word was if you are on programs.
Yep.
Mhm.
See
Social
yeah,
programs.
social programs. That's how the Democrats have lured people into this country,
Mhm.
telling them just like they did with the illegals here. You know, they painted this as the streets are paved with gold. You just got to get over here. We're gonna give you all the stuff you need and everything that we got, you got, you know. And so I can't blame the people for coming if you are trying to better your life. But at the same time, again, it all goes back down to if you came illegally, you're here illegal. You do not have any rights. You do not have any stay or ground to say that I'm going to stay here and I'm going to protest. No,
Right.
you're here illegally. You need to be deported or you're going to go to jail or whatever the case may be. But if you want to be here in this country, we do have a structure that says come here illegally, not illegally. Guys, for our last ruling I want to talk about, I know y'all going to love this one. And this is the one for me out of all the rulings that was this one right here for me was out of all of those other rules that went by. And see, I'm finna come to it from a spiritual level, all right?
Yep.
As a pastor, when Donald Trump first created the two genders in America, he was pulling America back in the line to what God said, that he created a man and a woman. But under the Democrats, the liberals, and under the Biden administration, they threw LGBT on everybody, and everybody was stuck with whatever that they wanted to do under the Democratic leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But the Supreme Court, they had women fighting men in boxing matches at the Olympics.
Ugh.
They've had men and women's sports dunking on them. Brittany Griner, that's a man. I mean, they have used men to invade women's sports, and that's totally illegal. That's why they set it up to where women's had their own league, men had their own league, because the body structure of a man is much bigger and much muscular more than a woman. So, but what Joe Biden and Barack Obama and the LGBTXYZ crew did was illegal. And I'm so glad that President Trump made it a rule, and the Supreme Court supported it, that there should be no men and women's sports. Let me play this clip and we'll talk about it.
But the High Court handed conservatives a win on a different cultural flashpoint. upholding state laws that bar transgender athletes from joining girls' sports teams, prompting praise from some who say such laws even the playing field.
Our bodies are different, our sports reflect that, and every female athlete knows that this is true.
But advocates for transgender rights called the court's decision devastating.
These cases haven't really been about sports. They've been about using sports as a vehicle to drive transgender people out of public life more generally.
So the High Court's decision here effectively now giving the green light to some 27 states that have some version of a ban on trans athletes playing on girls' sports teams. But the ruling, importantly, doesn't force those remaining states to change their laws either, though lawsuits are underway on this issue, guys.
And it's the last day, but we're already getting a preview of next term. This Monday in October.
We sure are. The High Court saying they're going to wade into the very important issue of guns once again, this time taking a look at AR-15 style weapons.
All right, guys. Your comments, Doc. I know you're ready for that one.
Really? Really? You're going to drive them into the shadows? Oh, my God. Stop that. There have been transgender people around since the inception of creation. That's why we had the flood. Look, stop it. Men cannot play with women. But here's what's the kicker. They're leaving it up to the states. So my concern is if a college athlete is in one state where it's barred, but they have to play in another state where it's okay, are they going to forfeit? Are they going to play against that team? Like, this is going to be an issue. Like here in Georgia right now, we have Letitia Bottoms. She said she would have vetoed the bill that bars transgenders for playing in women's sports. They're men. They're not women, period.
Randy?
You know, this should be a very, very much a common sense issue. But since it's not, and we like to live under the moniker, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So fine. you want men to play in women's sports. How about we gonna put them in your neck of the woods, ladies that are supporting this nonsense? And when that man knocks you upside your head and he's wearing that lace front wig, don't say nothing. Hey, that was a woman to you. So the stupidity has gone beyond the pale, in my opinion, in America. I am ready to pack up and move to Europe, or even to North Korea at this point. Being in North Korea doesn't sound like a bad idea right about now, because America has just lost their ever-loving mind, and it is what it is. So, and to your point, Dr. Shack, you're right. If there's a student playing in one state and they cross over to another state, their safety is in jeopardy. Yes, and so, but they're gonna hide that. They're gonna say, no, this is a woman, and they're like, hey,
forfeit. They're gonna have a lot of forfeited games.
Dre,
exactly.
Just got to do my disclaimer. This is not a position that Numbers USA takes, but my personal position on that is that we have two genders. It's been ruled by the Supreme Court that women should not be and men should not be playing on the same playing field. We've seen the reports of women getting hurt playing with transgender men, and at the end of the day, this is a no-brainer to me. So we've left it up to the states. It's going to cause a lot of issues, but we have a lot of activists out there that will be pushing for rights in each of these states that are even against keeping transgender out of women's sports. So there's much more fighting to do, but it's just going to lead to another Supreme Court ruling that makes it for everyone. So we have a lot more work to do.
Mr. Binky?
I'm just a simple guy, right? All the Supreme Court had to do, if they had any integrity at all, was to say there's a difference between a man and a woman. This is reality that we're dealing with. There, nothing else had to be said. They don't have to go through all this rigmarole that they do up there. It's a man and it's a woman. If you want to have a combined sport where men want to play as women and women want to play as men, create it.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
But don't tell it people we've got to force something upon you, and you're forcing unreality ideas.
Mhm.
Let's, as Randy said, we lack common sense.
Mhm.
Common sense tells you a man and a woman.
But they want you to give up your free will. They want you to
Yeah.
abide by the cult. They want everybody into this cult behavior. And once you give up your free will, which is yours, and you can choose, that's what Satan wants. This is a completely spiritual battle in this.
It always has been a spiritual battle, but you know, when we watched the last Olympics, when all the boxers, both transgender men, beat the crap out of those women and took gold medals home, I think that those should be reversed and should be given to the women who was the next runner-up because of the fact that you had men that was much physically bigger and stronger than a woman. Mr. Binky?
Why did the women in these sports allow it to happen? Because they're being threatened by these organizations. That in itself is, again, wrong. As Randy said, where's the common sense?
Well, guys, we got to get out of here, man. Randy, you go ahead on, get your last words in and the last comment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, in those situations like that where they see that there's clearly a man in the ring with a woman, I would swap them out and be like, "Hey, Tyson, we got somebody for you." That's how I would do that. But hey, no, this was a great discussion, everyone. Truly appreciate being with you all today, as always. You can follow my show, Permanent Associates, Mondays and Fridays, typically on any platform that you're on under our perm. And yeah, don't forget to order, pick up, or download my book, Polarizing America, A Dichotomous Society, and check that out and let me know what you think. And I'll holler at y'all.
Dre?
There's no better time to read the Emancipation Reclamation as now with the rulings that we have from the Supreme Court. We are seeing a time that's very unprecedented about immigration policy, and it is important for people to be educated. I think there's a lot of people amongst the freedmen groups that are very fired up that this birthright citizenship ruling did not go as it was written in the 14th Amendment. So now is the time to really get people together, and not just the freedmen groups, but all Americans, to really pay attention to what's going on with immigration policy, whether it's chain migration, whether it's bringing in people on the diversa lottery, which is just like you roll the dice, you put your name in a thing, and they bring you in without really vetting you. There are a lot of legal areas where we need to reduce immigration, and now it's time to look past the illegal immigration and look at the legal immigration and deal with those issues too, because we have seen that this Supreme Court ruling is going to embolden a lot of people to get here by having babies on American soil. So there's a lot that we need to do, but all hope is not lost.
Doc?
Yes, and thank you for joining us today, Steve, Randy, Andre, and Pastor Laura. Thanks for having me on. Just know that, as Andre said, yeah, hope is not lost. That's why I started the USA Redemption Party. We are looking for servants of the people, not politicians, and also volunteers for the party so that we can actually go against what's happening with the Republicans and the Democrats. I've said it for a long time. They left us a long time ago, both parties, and they are not there to really serve the people. And that's why the USA Redemption Party is in place. So please check us out at usaredemptionparty.com. Also check out Unfiltered Vision Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. on YouTube.
Mr. Binky, your last words, and we're going to call it a day.
Okay, well, we got the 4th of July coming up here. It's not just about being able to party and calling it America and throwing an American flag around and saying you're patriotic. The 4th of July came about from the Declaration of Independence. Men and women died for that Declaration of Independence. And that Declaration of Independence tells you and me who we are. This is not a party about thanking government for anything. This is a reflection of what this country came from, to be what it's supposed to be. And if our founding fathers are around today to see the way this country's being ran, they would not be happy at all. Please learn the Declaration of Independence, learn who you are, and make this country better.
I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Y'all enjoy the holiday, and we all gonna get together.
Absolutely.
Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. We had great conversation. We're talking about issues people don't want to talk about, and we're bringing solutions to those problems. Let me say this to the American people and patriots across this country. 250 years of liberty and freedoms. This past week, I wrote an op-ed regarding the 250 years of freedom. And as I was saying earlier, we have to do better as Americans because this country was made on the back of immigrants. There were people who, the founding fathers who came from another place to create this country. But the most important thing for me is that you freed yourself from another country, but you enslaved other people to build the country. And yet and still the Black community is on its last legs, like I said before. In order for us to have freedoms here, Black people have had to fight for those freedoms tooth and nail. We've been discriminated against, housing issues, economic issues. All of these things are still in place. And the Black community has not thrived like all the other communities that have been created in America. And I think it gives America a black eye for me to see now that we're about to celebrate the freedoms of 1776. And yet, Black people are still enslaved psychologically. And that's what needs to change. In order for America not to be a hypocrite and for this country to be great again, then as an American patriot, I call on all Americans to stand with the Black community. Let us help it. Let us bring it back to prominence, just like all the other communities here in this nation. God bless you. Have a happy 4th of July, and we'll see you guys